Okay, so making your Christian faith something you actually like live every day, not just on Sundays.
Yeah,
It's a big goal.
it is.
Not just for, Sundays, but for work and family and friends, your whole life, really.
Yeah, it's definitely about kind of bridging that gap,
Yeah.
between what we believe and how we actually live it out.
Yeah.
It's about making faith an active part of our everyday experiences,
Okay, I like that.
even when those experiences get messy.
Yeah, and that's what we're diving deep into today. So
Yeah.
how can you actually take those values and have them play out when you're facing real life stuff? Like,
Right.
what does patience look like in a traffic jam?
Right.
You know?
Right, dude.
And don't worry, this isn't about being perfect.
No.
It's more about
Please.
taking those beliefs, right, and turning them into actions
Yes.
that become as natural as, say, making your morning coffee.
Yes, what fascinates me is how principles,
Like love, kindness, integrity, they can actually be transformative, It's not just about following rules. It's about creating stronger relationships.
Yeah.
Finding a deeper sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And figuring out those ethical dilemmas we all bump into from time to time.
Okay, so let's break that down a little bit.
Okay.
What does living your faith actually mean?
Right.
Beyond, just saying, I'm a Christian or I believe these things.
Yeah, it's about more than words, absolutely. It's about embodying those core Christian values. Love, kindness, patience, humility.
Right.
And we're talking about reaching these values into every interaction, every decision we make. So imagine if you could watch your life like a movie.
Okay.
Would someone watching that movie see those values reflected in what you do?
So it's less about talking the talk and more about walking the walk.
Yes.
Showing your faith through your actions, right?
Exactly. Think of it like this.
Okay.
If love is the engine of our faith,
Action is the fuel that keeps it moving.
So how do we actually fuel that engine, especially when it comes to work?
Yeah.
Because, it's one thing to be kind to people on Sunday.
Right. Right.
But what about when you're dealing with a tough boss or you're facing a mountain of deadlines?
Right.
How do you live those values when you're stressed and in a rush?
It often starts with the simple things.
Yeah,
right. Being honest in all your dealings.
Okay.
Treating everyone with respect, whether they're the CEO or the janitor.
Right.
Colossians 3.23 tells us to work at everything we do with all your heart.
Okay.
As working for the Lord, not for human masters.
So bringing that same energy and excellence to your everyday tasks as if you're accountable to something bigger than just your manager.
It's like, raising the bar on what excellence even means.
Right.
But it's also about those small acts of kindness that can really shift the entire atmosphere of a workplace.
Okay, like what?
Like offering to help a coworker who's drowning in their workload.
Okay.
Or speaking up against gossip instead of joining in.
Right.
Or just being a calming presence in a stressful meeting,
Okay.
Those things might seem small, but they have a way of rippling outward.
What about those situations
Yeah.
where you have a coworker
Right.
who just rubs you the wrong way?
Oh, we all have them.
Right.
Right.
The one who seems determined to test your patience every single day?
Oh, yeah.
How do you handle that?
That's where grace comes in.
Okay.
And this doesn't mean condoning bad behavior,
Right.
It's about choosing to respond with compassion.
Okay.
Think of grace as that deep breath you take before reacting.
Okay.
It gives you space, for
Yeah.
understanding and for remembering that everyone, even that difficult coworker,
Yeah.
is fighting their own battles.
It's about reflecting those values even when it's hard. Remembering to extend that same grace
Right.
that you would hope to receive on your own tough days.
Precisely. Sometimes the most powerful way to share your faith
Yeah.
isn't through preaching or arguing,
Right.
It's through how you actually treat people.
Okay.
Matthew 5.26 talks about letting your light shine. And often those small acts of grace, those are what let that light break through.
So we've tackled the workplace.
We have?
But let's shift gears to another really important area, home.
Yes.
Because arguably it's even more crucial to live out our faith within our families.
Absolutely. Home should be that safe haven, that space where love and grace are like the foundation, the bedrock of everything. And it's less about lecturing,
Yeah.
and more about embodying those values ourselves.
Right.
Showing our spouse and children what a life guided by faith can actually look like.
I imagine that's way easier said than done, though.
Yeah.
Especially when everyone's tired and maybe the kids aren't listening and dinner's burning.
Oh, yeah.
Life has a way of throwing curveballs.
Oh, absolutely. We're all human.
Right.
Families are dynamic, messy, wonderful things.
Yeah.
There will be disagreements, arguments, spilled milk,
Of course.
stressful times.
Right.
But it's in those moments that we really have that chance
Okay.
to respond with the same patience, forgiveness, and understanding
Right.
that we've been talking about.
Right.
It's about being intentional, even when it's tough.
So how do we do that?
Yeah.
How do we move beyond the good intentions
Right.
and make our faith a more tangible part of our family lives?
Right.
It can't just be about having a Bible verse on the fridge.
Right. It has to go deeper than that.
Okay.
It could be as simple as,
Yeah.
maybe starting the day with a family prayer,
Okay.
even if it's just a minute or two
Mm-hmm.
of acknowledging something you're grateful for.
Okay.
Or maybe reading a short devotional together. And honestly, sometimes the most powerful moments come from just sharing a meal together
Okay.
and having those conversations where everyone feels heard.
Right. Where you're actually connecting
Yes, exactly.
and listening to each other.
Connection is key.
Yeah. I love that. Finding those small everyday opportunities
Right.
to connect and reinforce those values.
Yeah.
It's not about the grand gestures or
Right.
the perfectly staged family photos.
Right.
It's about weaving those threads of faith
Yeah.
into the everyday moments.
Exactly. And here's a crucial thing to remember too,
Yeah.
we don't have to be perfect
Right.
to start weaving those threads.
Mhm.
We're all learning as we go.
Right.
Sometimes those messy, imperfect moments,
Right.
those are the ones that teach us the most about grace and forgiveness.
Yeah.
What matters most is that we're trying,
Yeah.
that we're creating that home environment where everyone feels, loved, respected, valued for who they are.
Right. And speaking of those values playing out in different settings,
Yeah.
let's shift to our social lives for a minute.
Okay.
Because, it can be kind of tricky sometimes, to navigate friendships and social events and just those moments where,
Yeah.
everyone's doing something that maybe doesn't quite align with
Yeah.
your beliefs.
Sure.
How do you stay true to yourself
Yeah.
in those situations?
That's where the rubber really meets the road, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about, holding on to your values, even when you feel like you're the only one holding on to the rope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Remember, you don't have to compromise who you are to fit in.
Yeah.
Your faith isn't about becoming someone you're not.
Right.
It's about becoming the best version of who you are.
So what advice would you give to someone who's feeling that pressure of trying to balance those things?
Right.
It's like walking on a tightrope sometimes.
It is. It takes balance.
Yeah.
I would say
Huh.
start by choosing your company wisely.
Okay.
Surround yourself with people who uplift you,
Right.
who support you, who share your values, or at least respect them.
Yeah.
And, it's okay. In fact, it's healthy, I think, to decline invitations to events that make you feel uncomfortable or
Sure.
compromise your beliefs.
Right.
You're not obligated to explain yourself.
Yeah.
Your peace of mind is worth more
Right, sir.
than any social obligation.
Yeah, it's about setting those boundaries and realizing that
Yes.
sometimes saying no to something that doesn't feel right
Yeah.
is actually saying yes to yourself
Right.
and your own spiritual well-being.
It's about prioritizing
Yeah.
your
yeah.
own growth and peace.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've talked about being a good friend, right?
Yeah.
But what about our interactions with people who might not share our beliefs at all?
Right. Right.
How do we live out our faith in those relationships without being preachy or judgmental?
Right.
Right. Well, and that's often where we see, the most powerful expressions of faith, I think,
Okay.
is in how we treat those
Right.
who are different from us.
Mm-hmm.
It's about approaching
Yeah.
every interaction, every conversation
Yeah.
with that same, foundation of love, kindness, and respect
Right.
that we keep talking about.
Right. Like remembering the golden rule.
Exactly. It's not just a Sunday school lesson.
Right.
It's a blueprint for how we should engage with the world.
So what might that look like practically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So give me an example.
It could be as simple as,
Yeah.
really listening to someone
Okay.
without interrupting with your own opinions or judgments.
Yeah.
Even if you disagree with them.
Okay.
It could be offering a helping hand, even if it's inconvenient, or it could be as simple as just, being a source of positivity and encouragement
Right.
in a world that often feels like dark and cynical.
Right. So it's about reflecting that, like,
Yes.
inward transformation outwardly through, like, genuine, heartfelt actions.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes those, seemingly small acts of kindness,
Right.
those moments when we choose compassion over judgment,
Yeah.
they can make a bigger impact than we realize.
Yeah. Yeah.
We never really know what someone else is going through.
Right.
And our willingness to be kind, to offer grace,
Yeah.
that might be the very thing they need in that moment.
It's about remembering that, like, at the heart of it,
Yeah.
we're all connected, right?
Yes.
Like, we're all human beings just trying to, like,
We are.
navigate this thing called life.
Absolutely.
And, like, our actions have a ripple effect.
That's a powerful reminder.
Yeah.
And it brings us back to the heart of, like,
Okay.
living out our faith.
Yeah.
Right? It's not about, like, checking off a list of rules.
Right.
It's about letting that love and grace that we've received, overflow
Yeah.
into our interactions with everyone we encounter.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Work, family, social life.
Yes.
I imagine it might feel a bit overwhelming, to
Yeah.
think about putting all of this into practice at once.
And that's okay.
Right.
There's no need to rush, Remember, faith is a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
It's about progress,
Yeah.
not perfection.
I love that, progress, not perfection.
Yes.
So for someone who's listening and thinking, okay, where do I even start?
Right.
What's one small practical step they could take today
Okay.
to kind of start weaving their faith into their daily life a bit more?
One of the simplest yet most powerful practices I found is
Okay.
starting the day with a prayer of gratitude. Just take a few moments to reflect on, like, the good things in your life, big or small, and just, ask for guidance as you approach the day ahead.
It's like setting your internal compass, right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about aligning yourself with those values first thing in the morning
Right.
so that they can, guide your thoughts and your words and your actions
Right.
throughout the day.
Okay.
And as you're going through your day, look for those small opportunities to put your faith into action.
Right. So instead of just like thinking to yourself,
Right.
oh, I should be more patient,
Right.
actually look for a chance to like practice patience.
Exactly.
Whether it's in traffic or it's like, in line at the grocery store
Yes. Yes.
or it's with that family member who just like pushes all your buttons.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be, some grand gesture.
Right.
It might be letting someone go ahead of you in line or offering a genuine compliment or choosing forgiveness over anger when someone, rubs you the wrong way.
Right. It's those everyday moments, right?
Absolutely.
Where you just kind of
Yeah.
take a breath
Be present.
and like, recognize that even the smallest acts
Yes.
can have a ripple effect.
Absolutely. And another thing that's been really helpful for me is incorporating a daily devotional into my routine.
Oh, yeah. Those are great.
Yeah.
There are so many to choose from these days.
I know, right?
Books, podcasts, even apps now.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to take long either.
Right.
Even just 5 minutes of like reflection and connection with scripture can make a big difference.
Right. It's about like carving out that space
Yes.
for like, spiritual nourishment.
Yes.
Even if it's just like a few minutes stolen
You guys-
here and there
Yeah.
throughout the day.
And, personal reflection is important.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate the power of community. Finding a group of people
Yeah.
who share your faith,
Right.
whether it's through your church or a small group or even like, an online forum these days,
Okay.
can make a world of difference.
Yeah.
Sharing your experiences, both the ups and the downs,
Yeah.
can provide like encouragement and accountability.
Right. It's like that old saying, right?
Yeah,
The journey is better together.
it is. It's true.
Like having that support system
Yeah.
can make all the difference,
It can.
especially when you're facing those challenges.
We're not meant to do this life or this faith alone.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, be patient with yourself too.
Oh, that's important.
This is a lifelong journey, not a destination.
Right.
There will be times when you stumble, when you fall short,
Sure.
but those moments don't define you.
Yeah.
What defines you is your willingness to,
Yeah.
get back up, learn from your mistakes,
Right.
and keep moving forward.
So it's about like extending that same grace. Yes.
and forgiveness that we've been talking about
Yes.
for ourselves.
Yes, absolutely.
We're all works in progress.
We are, exactly.
Right.
And celebrate those small victories along the way, too.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Notice those moments when you choose kindness, when you act with integrity,
Yeah.
when you extend grace to yourself and to others.
Right.
You know, those moments are proof that you're growing, that your faith is becoming more than just words, but, you know,
Yeah.
a way of life.
And that's what it's all about, right?
Yes, X.
Living a life that
Yeah.
reflects the love and grace that we've received.
Yes.
You know, something you mentioned earlier really struck a chord with me.
Yeah.
This idea that our faith shouldn't be compartmentalized. You know?
Yeah.
It's not just for Sundays or special occasions. It should be woven into the very fabric of who we are.
Absolutely. It's not about wearing our faith on our sleeves.
Yeah. You know, it's about letting it inform everything we do.
Right.
From the big decisions
Yeah.
to those small, seemingly insignificant choices
Right.
that we make every day.
Yeah, it's about that.
It's about the authenticity.
Authenticity, yeah.
Yes.
And that congruence between what we believe
Yes.
and how we live, right?
Exactly. And and that's what makes it so compelling,
Yeah.
so attractive to others.
Yeah.
When our faith is integrated into everything we do, it becomes less about following rules
Right.
and more about living a life of, purpose, meaning, and genuine connection.
So it's about finding that
Alignment.
alignment. Yeah.
Yes.
That sense of wholeness.
Yeah.
Where our faith isn't something separate, right?
Yeah.
It's not a separate part of our lives,
Right.
but it's actually
It's the foundation.
the foundation of who we are.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about becoming
Yeah.
the best versions of ourselves, the people we were created to be.
It's like that quote, be the change you wish to see in the world.
Yes.
Yes.
But instead of
Yeah.
the change in the world, it's also that
Right.
inner transformation.
Inner transformation. Exactly.
Yeah,
It's powerful stuff,
it is.
And what's beautiful about it is there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
Yeah. Your journey of faith, how you choose to live it out,
Yeah.
it's going to be uniquely yours.
So it's less about checking boxes and more about finding those practices
Yes.
and those rituals and
Yeah.
those everyday actions that help you connect
Exactly.
with your faith on a deeper level.
Exactly. For some people, it might be starting each day with prayer and meditation, finding that quiet time to connect with something larger than themselves.
Right.
For others, it might be volunteering in their community,
Or
putting their faith into action by serving others. And for someone else, it might be simply making a conscious effort
yeah.
to be more present
Right.
and compassionate in their everyday interaction.
Yes.
Seeing the divine spark in everyone they meet.
Yeah, I love that
Yeah.
it's about finding those avenues where your faith can just flow naturally,
Yeah.
authentically.
It's about being real. you know?
Yeah, into your everyday life.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like for you.
Exactly. And it's important to remember it's an ongoing journey,
Yeah.
of discovery as
Right.
we grow and change.
Right.
So too will our understanding of faith
Mm-hmm.
and how we express it.
So it's about staying open to that, right?
So,
to
yeah.
that growth and that evolution
Yeah.
and trusting that all those
Yeah.
twists and turns along the way are all part of it.
Absolutely. And here's something I've learned along the way.
Okay.
It's okay to have doubts.
Yeah.
It's okay to wrestle with your faith.
Right.
To ask those hard questions.
Sure.
In fact, those moments of questioning,
Yeah.
of seeking,
Yeah.
can be some of the most transformative experiences that we have.
Right.
They challenge us to dig deeper,
Right.
to examine our beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
and to come out on the other side
Yeah.
with a stronger, more resilient faith.
It's like that saying, the wound is the place where the light enters you.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes it's those challenging moments, those doubts,
Yeah.
those are the very things that
Yes.
crack us open
Yeah.
and allow for that growth.
That's a beautiful way to put it,
Yeah.
And remember, you don't have to figure it all out on your own.
Right.
There's a whole community of believers out there
Mm-hmm.
who have walked this path before you,
Right.
who understand those struggles
Mhm.
and are there to offer,
Yeah.
support and encouragement. So don't be afraid to reach out, to connect, to share your journey with others.
There's something so powerful about remembering that. You You're
Yeah.
not alone in this.
We're not alone.
Right.
We're all in it together.
Yeah.
Supporting each other, learning from each other.
Right. And that we're all
We are.
part of something so much bigger
Yes.
than ourselves. Right.
Yes.
Like united by this, like
Yeah.
shared faith.
The shared faith that transcends our differences
Yes.
and connects us on a deeper level.
That's a beautiful thing to remember, especially like
Oh, it is.
in a world that can often feel so divided, right?
Absolutely.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive here,
Yeah.
what's like one final thought you'd like to leave our listener with?
Mhm.
Something for them to kind of like
Yeah.
reflect on as they, continue on their own journey of faith.
Don't underestimate the power of small, consistent actions. You know, it's easy to get caught up in this idea that we need to, like, make these grand gestures to really make a difference.
Yeah.
But the truth is, it's often the small, everyday choices
Right.
that have the most significant impact.
Yeah.
Like a kind word to a stranger,
Right.
offering a helping hand to a neighbor, a moment of grace extended to someone who, maybe doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
These seemingly small acts, they can ripple outwards
Yeah.
and create a more loving and compassionate world,
Right.
one interaction at a time.
I love that. It's a good reminder that, like, we don't have to wait
Right.
for some like big moment to make a difference.
Nope.
We can start right where we are
Absolutely.
with what we have
Yeah.
and just let our faith,
Right.
guide those everyday choices.
It's about those small steps,
Yeah.
taking consistently.
Yeah.
They can lead to incredible transformations, both in our own lives
Right.
and in the world around us.
Right. It's about like showing up each day
Yes.
and choosing to be the light. Right.
Yes.
Even if it's just like, a small flicker.
A flicker in the darkness.
Yeah.
That's it.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Well, on that, like, inspiring note,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive
It was my pleasure.
into, living our faith every day.
Absolutely.
And just remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
It is.
Right?
Keep going.
And each step we take, no matter how small,
Yes.
it brings us closer to the light.
That's right.
Thanks for being here.
Thank